read it for us.
Okay, thank you, Rick.
It's like the sound of a pulley, the wisdom of Socrates. The largest landowner in ancient Greece called on Socrates one day and bragged about his extensive holdings. Socrates rolled out a map of the world and indicated Greece. Where exactly is your land? He asked. No matter how much land I had, it wouldn't show up here, said the other man, dumbfounded. If your land doesn't show up on the map, you haven't got much to brag about, said Socrates with a genial smile. I'm constantly working the universe in my mind. Socrates is credited with saying, my advice to you is to get married. If you find a good wife, you'll be happy. If not, you'll become a philosopher. There are many well-known anecdotes about his shrewish wife, Xanthippe. Once, hearing her complain all day long about her husband's failure to earn a decent living, a friend of Socrates commented that such nagging was too much to bear. Socrates rejoined, I'm used to it. It's like hearing the unceasing sound of a pulley. Another time, annoyed that her husband paid no attention to her litany of complaints, Xanthippe emptied a chamber pot on his head, prompting him to remark, after the thunder, there generally comes rain. Words like this fend off arguments. The thought of being saddled with a shrewish wife is aggravating. Think of it as learning to ride a bucking horse, however, and it becomes a challenge. A man who can handle the most difficult horse of all need fear no one. Socrates impressed his lesson on his disciples using his own family life as illustration. This is an important lesson in the art of living. Poor Socrates. Um, he had to do something that we're asked to do in one of our other stories here on Wonderful Fruits. He's asked to endure and persevere. Um, his condition was difficult. He had a wife that was shrewish, and certainly this affects women as well when they have husbands who are demanding or perhaps lazy or who knows. Whenever your partner is very difficult, um, we have to understand that this is a condition that somehow we put ourselves into. And so we have to look within ourselves to find a way to endure and persevere. Here, Socrates does it with some humor. He looks on the humorous side of his situations. When Xanthippe empties a chamber pot on his head, he makes light of it. And when someone tells him, "Oh, you have such a hard lot," he just says, "I'm used to it." It's like hearing the unceasing sound of a pulley. I would think something that's kind of unceasing eventually just kind of ends up being background noise, and maybe he was able to tune it out. In any case, I think his lesson, which he illustrates to his students with his own life, is that difficult situations have to be met with a certain degree of humor and with a certain degree of ingenuity in order to be able to rise to the challenge. It's very easy to just be overwhelmed by these things if we don't look at them as challenges, if we just look at them as misfortune that we can't do anything about. But Socrates looks at it maybe kind of like a game, like a challenge. How to avoid an argument at all costs. Look at him getting a chamber pot emptied on his head, but instead of starting an argument, he makes fun of it and avoids the argument. And he's able to keep going. He's able to persevere. His real task is his philosophy. His real task is working the universe in his mind. This is an amazing statement, really, when you consider uh, the vastness and the depth of our mind. The Dharma illustrates so many different points that we can look at to understand ourselves, to understand our minds. And the more we listen, the more complex we see that we are. And the deeper we look into our minds, we see that it only gets deeper and deeper. It's not something we should fear, it's something that we should explore, and it's something that we should try to master as we unveil our desires and our passions and we discover our purpose. It's like this great universe that is within us, regardless of what's happening around us, regardless of the challenges, and regardless of the difficult conditions that we're asked to endure and persevere through. We have to remember that we have this great treasure within us of our minds, this great universe that we could delve into and find solace and find peace. And more than anything, we can find solutions to the situations that are difficult in our lives, just the way Socrates did, dealing with Zampathy. So that's what I get from our story today.
Okay, thank you very much, Rick, for reading and explaining the story. What a hopeful and wonderful message. It's all up to our perspective of life. We can see it as a game, as a challenge, and then try to overcome it or just struggle. Very good. Thank you so much. Good job, everyone, for completing the whole session. Have a good evening. Bye bye.
Thank you.